Act 5, Scene 8, we have Malcolm. I want to say brandishing, but that sounds wrong because you brandish a sword. Holding aloft the severed, butchered if you like, head of Macbeth after he has been slain, holding the head aloft and then pronouncing the end of the reign of terror, essentially, of this, I quote, this dead butcher and his fiend-like queen. This is his damning epithet or proclamation, if you like, on who they were, and also signals the closing of their reign and future forward thinking. There will be a new reign now. Order is restored. The equilibrium is restored. I can't talk. I'm so sorry. The great chain of being is back in the correct order. So it was disrupted by the butcher and the fiend, but now everything is restored. And that's where we get our catharsis at the end of the play. So the audience has enjoyed seeing the peripetia, the downfall, the change in fortunes of this really compelling couple or gruesome twosome. They are so fascinating, aren't they? I don't know about you, but I love a good villain. I was an 80s child and I used to watch He-Man. That's how old I am. And I can remember saying to my mum one time, why can't Skeletor just win? Like, why does he always have to lose? I feel bad. Like, I want to see him win just to see. Can't he win sometimes? So I've always had a bit of a fascination, I would say, with the villains, and you don't get more compelling than these two. Anyway, let's look at Butcher and let's look at Fiend-like Queen. So Butcher, obviously this is a metaphor, so I'm just going to quickly write here. And I'll spell it properly this time. I won't write words without missing consonants, hopefully. All right, it's a metaphor. What does this metaphor do? So it strips, I'll just abbreviate to M, strips him of his prestige and power. I wouldn't say it dehumanizes him, because a butcher obviously is a very human position. If you're a butcher, you kill, you are familiar with carcasses. So it was quite a stigmatized role to be a butcher in Jacobean England. It was necessary. You obviously need a butcher to kill so that you are able to eat meat, but it was stigmatized due to the visceral nature and dealing with death, the corpses of animals, and the inherent sense that you're also touching something that's unclean and dirty and, oh no, it's that word again, filthy, which I forgot to put the L in. I can't believe that if you've watched my previous video on the cistern of lust with Malcolm. Anyway, so people treat this role with disdain and disgust. Gone, that's an S by the way, gone is our noble, valiant, brave Macbeth. So remember, the captain in Act 1, Scene 2 described Macbeth to King Duncan as brave Macbeth and saying he deserved that name because he was able to unseam one of the traitors during battle. He unseamed him and fixed his head upon our battlements. So Macbeth previously, when butchering somebody, ironically, but in service of the king and country, for King Duncan, his king and country, that butchery is seen as brave, noble, and King Duncan even describes him as, "Oh, valiant cousin, worthy gentleman." So this type of butchering and killing, ironically, when it's sanctioned by God and the king, and it's part of the, when it services previously butchery, serving the king equals brave, serving self, ambition, sinful. So he's described as this butcher. This is very visceral, this imagery. So of the body, it's quite grotesque. Visceral, grotesque imagery. How far he has fallen. How he now becomes merely a character, if you like, a bit player, just a nobody, dead butcher. He's lost all status. He's lost all prestige. He is nothing now. He is flattened out, faceless, almost anonymous. Anyway, right, let's move on to his fiend-like queen. I'll use a different colour for this. Fiend-like, she says. If I can remove the lid. Nope, I'm sticking with red. Okay. Fiend-like. So here, I'm not saying she is a fiend. So we can say, we have the simile here. Fiend-like queen. So she's not even of this world. Lady Macbeth. Again, it aligns her with the supernatural. The idea, the notion that she is the fourth witch. Because she does encourage the spirits to come and fill her with direst cruelty. So she has become, if you like, she's already been fiend-like to be able to throw off her femininity. But anyway, this even more associates her with the supernatural, the witches, sin, devil, evil. Funnily enough, she still retains the title queen. Whereas Macbeth is described as a butcher, he doesn't have any hint at royalty left in this, I want to say, description of him by Malcolm. Interestingly, she still retains the title queen. And I wonder whether this was a deliberate choice, whether the fact that she has, and Malcolm even says this, she has potentially unalived herself of her own hand. Does that redeem her in any way? I'm not too sure, because we need to remember that unaliving yourself during Shakespeare's era was seen as sinful as well, because you are overstepping. You are taking your life out of God's hands and making a decision yourself, which you are not able to do. That is God's position, isn't it, during the Jacobean era. Right, so fiend-like and a butcher. The imagery here at once like children's book characters of ghost stories, tales that you tell children of witches and butchers who possess bloodlust. They've just become like bit part players on a stage, like echoes now. They're not really who they were, these complex, compelling characters, just reduced to almost stereotype. Stereotype's the wrong word, but characters in a gruesome play, characters in a gruesome oral narrative that would be passed down through the ages to terrify children. So this is at this point also is where the bloodlust of the butcher Macbeth, the blood will have blood, that cycle of never-ending blood, ends with this proclamation, with Malcolm holding the head high for everyone to see and say, out with the old, in with the new, and now I'm king. So equilibrium is restored, and these two now become nothing but a butcher and a fiend. So interestingly, the fact that Malcolm is holding up Macbeth's head is part of a cyclical structure also, because at the beginning, remember when the captain is telling King Duncan about Macbeth's bravery, he talks about the man who he unseamed with his sword, just like a butcher. and then place his head on the battlements. And we have Malcolm describing now another head, Macbeth's head. So we have this repetition of this motive of traitors' heads being shown, traitors being killed, and their heads as a symbol of this is what happens to traitors. This won't threaten the crown any longer. This is what happens if you try to do that. So we have this order restored. We have Macbeth and Lady Macbeth referred to as this completely depersonalizing butcher and fiend.